As the economic shutdown continues, the hypocrisy of the left continues to become even more evident than it ever was before. Every election cycle, the Democrats like to come out and play this class warfare game. The millionaires and the billionaires, they're not paying their fair share. If someone is rich, it's because they ripped you off, right? And it's the millionaires and the billionaire class that are greedy hoarders of money. And yet we are finding out more and more that during this economic shutdown, that it's these private businesses, industries, and the millionaire and billionaire class that is helping to keep us afloat and actually going through and doing extra to try and help us through this time. Meanwhile, we take a look at Democrats, favor institutions, and we realize that they're the ones who are greedy hoarders. And this becomes even more evident when you take a look at this particular article from the red state, in which case it highlights that NYU dean's weird response to students' request for a refund for virus-canceled classes. Hundreds of students at NYU's Tisch School of the Arts were up a creek without a paddle when the classes they paid for were shut down because of the pandemic. Some didn't think trying to do it remotely would work, so naturally they inquired of the school and their dean, Allison Green, if they might be able to get some of their money back. The students outlay $58,000 a year in tuition, so one can understand that they may want what they paid for, the value of the money. Okay, now first of all, let's take a look at the tuition here because it is utterly ridiculous. And we hear the Democrats go off and talk about, we need to forgive student loan debts. Oh, we need to make college free because it's unaffordable. But they never go through and take a look at why college is so expensive. It's because of the greed of the people running the colleges. They want more prestige for themselves. They want to feed their own egos. So they keep adding things that have nothing to do with providing education. They create rec center buildings. They do student groups, and student organizations. And for those student groups and organizations, they charge every student a fee that goes to these groups, whether or not those particular students actually participate. So even if you just go to classes, right, and do nothing else, you just went there for the education, you get up, you go to class, you hear the lecture, you go home, you study, you don't do any of the extracurricular activities, they're still charging you. Why? Because they can. And they keep adding on all these non-education related buildings because they know that they can just jack up their fees and you will pay for it. And the government will make sure that the money is available for you to borrow in order to give it to them. So it's all about feeding their egos and not about the education or providing an education to you. Now, when the students have gone through and decided, hey, we paid for an entire semester, we only got, 2 out of the 5 months of that time, or 2 out of the 4 months of that time, we should get some of our money back. And the colleges were like, no, we don't want to give you your money back. No, we'll do the classes remotely. And the students are like, well, that's fine for some classes, but you can't do all classes remotely. It's just not really feasible. Like apparently for the School of the Arts, they have dance classes, they have acting classes, and all of these situations in which doing it remotely does not actually work. And so as the students were going through and inquiring more and more about a refund, because now they're paying, for an entire semester in which, due to the government action, they are not actually able to utilize. And so they're not going to be able to get credit for those courses. They're not going to be able to move on. And therefore, this is, $58,000 down the drain in tuition because of a problem outside of their control. So the dean went through and was looking through all those emails, and she thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to prove these students wrong. I'm going to go through and I'm going to post a video showing that, yes, you can do these classes remotely. And she does a horrible job at it. Now I'm sad, too much. I thought that I heard you laughing. I thought that I heard you sing. I think I thought I saw you try. Okay, that's enough of that. There are so many things wrong with that particular video. One, wrong song to be using. I mean, you're having students complaining about being out a lot of money for a semester in which they're not able to complete the classes, and you pick REM, Losing My Religion. You know, I think I thought I saw you cry. You know, that was just a dream. I mean, come on. The lyrics to the song alone are inappropriate for the situation. Secondly, the biggest problem is this is a school for an art. You're talking about dance classes, and the person leading the institution can't dance. I mean, that is horrible dancing. I mean, what the heck was she thinking there? She can't dance any way, shape, or form. I mean, that was pathetic. I mean, look at me. You know, you wouldn't think of me as someone who's light on their feet, and I could dance better than that. That's how horrible that is. But then let's actually go through and analyze the video itself, in which case it proves the students right. Because could you actually see her entirely during that video? No, you couldn't see her feet movements, right? Because they weren't on camera. Because, you know, what she didn't realize is you have a difference here between what the camera angle is and how wide the camera can go through and the room that you are in. So anything that was pretty much, you know, at or below the knees, you really couldn't see. And guess what? If you're going to do a class on dances, you kind of need to see the footwork a little bit. You need to be able to see as the foot are hitting the floors, how they are going, the position, the pivots, you know, all of that, which is, you know, me knowing way too much about how to teach dancing. You cannot teach dancing if you cannot see the person's foot, if the dancing requires footwork, right? So in that video, she was actually proving, one, she can't dance, and two, she has horrible selection of music, and three, the students are right. There are certain classes in which you cannot learn remotely via video because you may not have the space. You know, in your rooms, you may not have a room big enough for the camera angle to be wide enough to capture every last bit of what needs to be captured in order to teach that particular class, right? But yet she thinks, the dean of this college thinks, that this video proves the students wrong and justifies refusing to provide a refund for classes that are not being provided because of the shutdown. And as we go through here and we take a look at the motivations, because the school, well, they want the money. They're greedy. You know, these left-wing indoctrination camps, they're greedy. And plus, by not refunding the money, they're ensuring that the students go even deeper and further into debt. That the Democrats can then come out and rail about, oh, how bad student debt is. And, oh, you know, we need to provide free education because these students are coming out so much underwater that they can't get anywhere in life. And yet it's the colleges that are run by left-wing institutions that are creating the problems for the Democrats to go out and campaign against. It's so absurd, and you just can't make this stuff up. Okay, so if you want to get full episodes and analysis on the news, current events, and all that, subscribe to my podcast, The Jacob Johnston Show, available wherever you listen to podcasts, all podcast directories. Subscribe, download, and share. Thank you for watching.